What's going on, guys? It's Quit Talking Paintball, and today we're going to be going over the 2019 Machine Vapor. So let's see what's inside. From Machine, you get a nice push marker bag. As we all know, push makes fantastic gear bags, marker bags, or cases. Very high quality, good use of materials, nice zippers, you know, the works. From Machine, you get a nice little patch designating that it's a Machine product. So what comes in the packaging? We get a magnetic tech mat, a matching barrel tip, which kind of is reminiscent to what Lux provides with their X's and their Ices. Get some Allen keys, some lube, some spares. I don't know if they all come with another eye pipe, but this one does, and this interesting little tool here almost looks like a bead attached to a Allen.
Love my little naughty Pat. You're naughty, and then I take my naughty Pat,
which I'll show you what it does later. Comes with 3 backs, a 687, a 683, and a 679. These will all, no matter what color you get, will always be black. And now we have the Vapor. So a little bit of history on Machine and their Vapor markers. They first came out with the Vapor, I think, in 2013 and 2014. So they've had a couple iterations of the Vapor platform. If you guys are aware of Machine's reputation, it's not great. There's a lot of negative feedback on those markers, which had tons of problems with chopping paint, breaking paint, you know, just bad electronics. Just was not a good product. Maybe one out of, I don't know, a few dozen were worth anything and actually worked and functioned as they should. It really came to poor machining and a really poor bolt design, actually, which was just kind of flawed, which just made it really unreliable. So first impressions on the 2019 Vapor. It's a little bit heavier. There's a lot of material up here, but it feels pretty good in the hands. The grips are relatively smooth. You can get a pretty decent purchase on the marker. The front grip, I think, has a nice width to it. This grip material is a little bit softer and a little bit grippier than what we have in the back, which is pretty smooth here. You can actually manage the weight nicely in the hands. It's got a nice snappy magnetic trigger with 2 points of adjustment stock, which is magnetic tension and activation point. As you can see here, I did get a post-travel screw machined into the trigger just for a little bit more adjustability, and it's what I would say perfect now. You get a on-off ASA with this odd swiveling lever, which you can find on the earlier versions of the Vapor. Once air is actually engaged into the ASA, this doesn't freely spin just like this. I haven't had any issues ungassing it or degassing it unintentionally, so it's not an issue that I can see. One of the distinct features of the Vapor is also this integrated feed neck, as you can kind of see here. I kind of have mixed feelings about this. It looks really cool. It's super low profile, but it doesn't clamp as confidently as I would like. If you guys are familiar with Alien, you'll see that they have the same exact feed neck integrated into their bodies as well. The front grip houses the HPR, which is relatively easy to adjust through this Allen down here. You remove this cap, pull the cap off in the rubber grip, and then you have access to the HPR and you can service it. Now on to the most important feature of the Vapor is the newly updated engine. So you pull up the back cap and you shift it back ever so slightly, just like that. Now, I hate this back cap. It's very sharp, to be kind of careful grabbing it. I don't really suggest grabbing it from the back cap here just yet. Through the breech, push on the eye pipe, give yourself some space here to grab it, and just easily pull out the engine from the back. So jumping into the engine, as you guys can first see, is a eye pipe, very similar to what Dye provides. What's a little bit different is the thickness of this eye pipe is quite a bit denser than what Dye has. It also engages with the front of the keg of the bolt, so you don't have to worry about it falling off, and has a pretty secure clip to the engine, which is, I think, a nice feature. So here we have the newly updated 2019 Vapor engine, which is a balanced spool valve engine. You'll find a lot of similarities with this and the older Luxes and the Vanquishes. We have a port back here, or at the front here, which allows air to push the bolt in its rearward position. Ports here are for the forward driving of the bolt, and then ports in the back are for the air supply. Air supplied through the bolt guide here, through the ports on the tube. The ports line up with the porting on the bolt as well, filling up the air chamber inside. As the gun begins to fire, the ports on the bolt pass the O-rings on the tube, sealing up the supply to the air chamber, isolating it. As the bolt continues, these ports pass the very tip of the tube here, allowing air from the air chamber to dump through the bolt and out the face of the bolt. It's a very simple design, very traditional sort of style balance valve, and I haven't had any issues with it yet, which is really awesome. I've done some quick freezer tests with it. I've had 0 bolt stick with it. I haven't chopped any paint. Yeah, it's been really great actually. So I've been quite pleased with it. Being that it is a balanced spool valve engine, you'll find that the shot is actually really soft. It kind of reminds me of a DSR. It's not quite as soft as a Lux Ice or as airy as like a V16 engine, but it is a very nice shot. And kind of going back to the bolt speed adjuster that you'll find similar to like the CS platform, the Shocker, the Lux Ice with their feather touch screw. We have a screw here, oops, that vents the air in the forward stroke of the bolt out of the body and into the trigger frame of the Vapor. With this fancy little tool here, you're able to nicely adjust the position of the screw, which controls how quickly it vents. And it's screwed in position and it's most closed, you get the softest shot. When you screw it out and open up the vent, more air is able to flow, and that allows you to get a faster, snappier shot. I've been shooting it in its softest and slowest speed to just kind of test it, and that's how I've been using it when even doing my freezer tests. So let's get into some of the quirks of the Vapor. Going off of the SFR, as I said, the air actually purges through the trigger frame, which is kind of unfortunate. As you're shooting the marker, the air starts to cause the grips to breathe in your hands, and you can actually feel the air from every shot around your hand. You can feel the grips expanding and contracting between the shots. It may not be a deal breaker to everyone. It's not a deal breaker for me necessarily, but it's just an odd sensation when you're shooting. Not my particularly favorite quirk of the marker, but it's just something that you should know about. Another thing to note is the placement of the grip screws. The solenoid is actually located right here in the vapor. When you screw your grip screw in, it actually hits the body of the solenoid, which is less than ideal. A lot of, like, PE had this issue back in the day, but has since resolved it and is a non-issue at this point. But it kind of just shows that there's just some things that haven't been really thoroughly thought out with on the vapor. Another issue I have with it is that it's wired. The eyes are connected via eye wires to the board. There's no nice wireless connections that you'll find in a lot of the modern markers that you see now. Continue with the eyes. Something that's really interesting, if you guys can kind of see the similarities where there's no eye covers on this body. The eyes are actually located at the bottom of the firing chamber right here, right around here in that firing chamber, and they're actually shooting upwards in a diagonal direction, allowing them to see the paint. Once they're blocked, it recognizes that there's a paintball in the chamber and allows the gun to fire. When it's empty, the lasers shoot upwards and doesn't shoot. So it's a bit of an interesting design to allow for the body to be freed up of space, not needing any kind of electrical components on the sides here, which I think is actually a pretty cool feature. Another feature is you get a OLED board, which is updated compared to the older ones. It's actually decent. It's not too bad. It's not the easiest to navigate or to set up, but it's functional. So what are my thoughts on the machine vapor now that I've been able to test it for a couple months and have some actually hands-on experience with the marker? I think it's actually a really nice marker. It shoots really well. It's relatively comfortable to hold. It's far from being a perfect marker, but it's something different. It's really unfortunate that machine has such a poor reputation, where probably 80% of the community won't even give this marker a try just because of the name of it. And in my opinion, Machine hasn't really been doing themselves any favors, not advertising this gun in any way. They chose to go the route of allowing the gun to speak for itself. And you really can't afford to do that when no one's interested in even allowing the marker to talk for itself. I think it's a pretty good performer so far. The engine design is super simple, but I think it's exactly what they needed to do to make sure that they have a functioning platform, as they literally cannot afford to have a poor release and tarnish their reputation again. I mean, they just got back on their feet to release this marker, so I don't know. I'm curious to see what ends up happening with Machine. I fear that they will go quietly into the night and disappear, and no one will know about it. So I think more people should give this marker a try. If you can, try to get it in your hands, shoot some paint through it, get an opinion about it. Don't listen to everyone else, and just give it a try. I really do like this marker a lot. I actually don't know if I'll be selling this anytime soon, just because it is something that's unique. You don't see a lot of these markers anywhere, unfortunately. And I would really like to see more competition and just more variety in paintball. Now, one major issue I do have with this marker is that if you buy this brand new through Machine, it's $11.50. The WAS price, or the MSRP price, looks like it's $1,525. That is some high-end marker money, and this marker is not quite there yet. It does not have the features that the high-end markers have. It has old tech, like the wired eyes to the board. Um, the way certain Quirks are, it's not refined. They used recycled parts on it. I mean, it's a very nice marker, but it's not quite justifiable to the 1150 sale price even. It's close. I would say it's closer to $800 to $900, but 1150 is a little bit harder to swallow with a marker that there's not a lot of info on. So with this, if you can, keep an eye out for them on the used market. A lot of people love their vapors. It seems like they've done a pretty good job with this, and I think that's why you don't see a lot of them available. But if you can, again, try to get some paint on it, or paint through it, and give it a go. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.